Well, hello and welcome to the Fear Free Human Show. This is the show where we take all of that mental fear, which I'll explain what that is in a moment, and we get rid of it. We teach you how to shift your thinking from when you're in a closed state where you have a lump in your throat, a tightness in your chest, or a sick feeling in the solar plex area, right where the rib cage comes together. When you feel that, that means that you're getting guidance from a system that you were born with. We call the internal guidance system. And what it means is when you feel that is that what you're thinking in the moment is not true or not going to happen. Now, why is that important, right? Because here's the deal. As we come into the world as a baby and we begin to experience the world around us, when something happens external to us, we think that that external thing is what is making us not feel good. Okay, that icky anxiety feeling or worry or having, being anxious about somebody being mad at you, or that you're not okay, you're not doing well, all these different experiences, stress, impatience, or when you're rushed and you're afraid you're going to be late and people are going to judge you, all the various things that we feel where we get ourselves all, penned up inside and tightened, right? Well, that feeling is actually attached to a guidance system that you were born with. And so when you're a baby and you're looking outside of you, and let's say somebody makes a loud noise and you go like this, and you suddenly get afraid that there's danger, right? And you look around and your mom is like screaming and yelling about something breaking, then all of a sudden you get this feeling that if something drops and breaks, people get mad. If you break something, people get mad. And so from then on, what happens is you have a neural network program. And the thing is that it's not that the thing broke that makes you feel that tightness. It's the thought that if you break something, you are bad. That is actually creating the tightness. I know this is an interesting example, but the truth of the matter is that this system is paying attention to every thought you have as you go through your day, and it's giving you guidance on whether or not that thought is true and is moving you towards alignment with your blueprint where everything is going to be happy and joyous and fabulous. Or if you've got a tight feeling, that means that what you're thinking is not true and you're moving out of alignment with your blueprint and things are going to be more difficult and have discord. Now, there's a few key principles that I really would love to share with you today as we're getting this show going. And one of them is that when you feel that relaxed peace inside, that opening, it can just be where you're just feeling nice and neutral. Okay, that's one of the feelings the IGS gives you. That means that you are on your blueprint and everything is on track. And what I like to say is opening begets opening. And so as you're moving through the world in this state where you feel good, right, and you're relaxed and everything's going along easily, as you're moving through your day, what you're going to find is because you're open, your day is going to go smoothly. You're going to have synchronicity. People are going to smile at you. You're going to have a good day. But the other way it works is closing begets closing. Meaning that if you are filled with anxiety or worry or irritation or frustration, if you're feeling guilt, if you're feeling impatience or you're doubting yourself, right? You have concerns going on in your life and you can feel them. They're all tight. They're showing up, right? What that means is that closing sensation that you're experiencing means that you're going to run into that as you go out into the world. Things are going to be more difficult. You're going to hit every red light. People are going to be grumpy with you. You're going to drop things. This is when you stub your toe, you spill your coffee on your shirt. The person that you need to be there to pick something up is late. They don't show up. It gets rough. And this world around us is reacting to who we are, but it's when we change our thoughts that we then change the world around us. It's been quite fascinating to me, truly, to watch, as I've worked with over 40,000 people, to watch them shift as they find an opening about really challenging, long lasting, has a huge history of a long challenging, long suffering situation in their lives. As they come through and they find an opening and they get to a place where they have a new neural pathway, a completely new way of being with that long suffering issue that shifts it to where they feel at peace with it and good, how that situation then changes around them. And so we have the power to change the world around us, our mirror, what we see and what shows up by continuously paying attention to the state that we are experiencing inside. And the good news is that you have a system that you were born with that's paying attention to that state for you. It's paying attention to which thoughts are going to bring you the most joy and happiness and which thoughts aren't. Now, there is a very popular viewpoint out in the world about what is called an emotional guidance system. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks is her name. She has a book out and it's called an emotional guidance system. And people have this backwards. They have it a little bit wrong. So I'm going to give you, now my work does come from Esther Hicks' work way back in the day. In 1993, if you don't know a lot about me, in 1993, I was given a cassette tape by a little known person, Esther Hicks, at the time. At that time, she had just begun her journey of channeling a soul family called Abraham. And she was sitting in her living room in Texas, I believe it was, answering questions with a recorded tape. And so people would come and visit her, and then they would ask her questions. And then Abraham, while she was in a trance state, would answer. Now, no matter what you thought of it, the information that comes through is pretty interesting. And a friend of mine had given me the tape because I had had a really challenging childhood. Someday on the show, I'll go into it in more depth. But what had happened is I got to a place where I was in the self-sabotage mode, where no matter what I did, I would always get myself to this place as my life righted itself and started going well. Something would unhinge. Some problem would happen. I would be faced with someone who was upset with me or criticized me, and then I would blow up in anger. I'd get really upset. And my go-to stress defense is something that we teach at the Fear Free Human Institute. My stress defense was to take my toys and run. Go away. I'm not going to play with you. And so I would, tell my roommate I was moving out, or I would quit a job and expect my boss to come running down the street, even though I was just a lowly dishwasher. Like, yeah, the manager's going to come run down the street with me and my bad attitude. And I would expect people to forgive me when I would come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow up in your face and say all those awful things. And they wouldn't. And so I kept having this happen over and over and over again, like as the worst kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. It was happening. And my friend gave me this beautiful little tape. What she wanted me to know is about the law of attraction, that like energy attracts like energy. And so if I go out into the world with a bad attitude, I'm going to get a bad attitude back. And that is true. That is how it works. Maybe you know somebody who calls himself the unluckiest person, or someone who calls himself the luckiest person. What we say about ourselves has a tendency to come true, right? And so I liked hearing about the law of attraction, and I had some hope that I would be able to change it. But there was one piece of the cassette where somebody asked Esther, how do you have the most successful life? How do you have the most successful life? And what she said changed my life and created this body of work. What she said was, when you have a tight sensation in the middle of your body, that means that what you're thinking is going to create disharmony and chaos and problems in your life. You are out of alignment with your divine purpose, and problems will happen. But if you have a sense of relaxation and peace inside, or expansion even, that what you're thinking is in harmony, in alignment, and moving you towards your optimal, most successful life. What I knew at the time was that every time that I got myself into trouble, I felt that tight feeling. Maybe you know about that. It shows up like a lump in the throat. You'll hear me say this over and over: a lump in the throat, a tight, uncomfortable, anxiety, worry feeling in the chest, or a sick feeling, a churning or a rock in the solar plex. Maybe you're even feeling it right now. And I knew that experience intimately. And I knew that I didn't know how to stop it. In fact, having this knowledge kind of didn't help in a way, because I felt very helpless. Give me some chat love if you're there on, if you want, you could, I'd love to get some chat in here. I'd like to know, have you felt that? Have you felt that experience, what I'm talking about? That I can't find another way to do it. I keep having the same problem. And so I went on a mission, truly, to discover how this internal guidance system works. In fact, I call it the internal guidance system because that's what she called it. Now, here's the deal. Later in life, And as her career, Esther Hicks' career continued, thank you, Sky, for the yes. I appreciate that. As her career continued, she had a really hard time explaining this internal guidance system to other people. So the thing that I think is really very different, my work is completely different than their work. Okay, number one. But the other piece is she's channeling, according to what she says, a soul family of beings that are not on this planet. And if you pay attention, what you'll find if you study Esther Hicks' work or you pay attention is that to anything that they do, is that it feels really good. Like it feels true. The law of attraction and the advice she gives, one of the best things she does is she'll just bring in a group of people together and they'll just get up and ask questions one after the other. And she'll just answer from the soul family of Abraham. And you can feel it. It feels good. It feels right. It feels true. But then when you go to apply it, it's really hard. And the reason why I think that it's so difficult is because this disembodied soul family has not been here on this earth, okay, in a very long time. It does not remember how difficult it is to have a mind that will not shut up at 3:00 in the morning, or a mind that thinks somebody's mad at you and keeps having a conversation about defending yourself against somebody, or coming out of an argument and defending yourself against somebody. It doesn't have emotions, which throw us all over the map, right? You can be doing great one moment and then that text message comes in and you're all a mess. It doesn't remember what that's like. And so the Abraham group gave Esther Hicks the emotional guidance system. Now, just the term emotional guidance system has its own problems because it makes you think, and people have said this, if you feel your feelings feel good, then it's true. It's good for you. Move in the direction of what feels good. If it feels bad, that means it is bad, and you should move in the direction away from whatever feels bad. But I'm here to tell you, from all the work I've done, your emotions are not authentic. You actually have to do work. I have a program called Emotional Authenticity because you actually have to do work to find out what an authentic emotion for you is. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one is that as we watch the way people react in the world around us between the ages of 0 and 7, we pick up how they react to things. Watching our mother get angry with our father, or our father get disillusioned with his career and the way that he emotionally takes it, we emulate that. And we believe as a baby, and we don't even think about it, this is unconscious choices, us just sucking the world up around us as a sponge. We believe that that's how you're supposed to react. I remember one time I asked my little 3-year-old son, we had this very light coffee table. And I always want to empower him to be the man, right? My son. And so he was like 3, maybe 4 years old. And we go to pick up the coffee table. I'm like, help me move it out of the way so we can play. And we get up and we move the coffee table. And at the very end, he stops and he extends up and he holds his back and does this. Well, my husband has a bad back from spending years in a car for his career. And I looked at him and I was like, you don't have a bad back. Stop acting like your dad. And he laughed and giggled. But notice his response was so innate that when you exert yourself in a way that is lifting something, your back hurts. Think about that. And so the response, let's say your dad gets home late for dinner and your mom screams at him. Or maybe your dad comes in and your mom will say something and the dad jumps on him. And so now you're afraid to say anything to people because you're afraid you're going to get jumped on. Our emotions are programs, and they're very often they're not the internal guidance system at all. You can be in a state of anger and have opening thoughts that are true and in alignment and in harmony and empowering in that anger, or you can have thoughts that are not true, that are taking you away from harmony and creating more chaos. Lots of anger does that. So it's really important when you're in the middle of your emotional states to pay attention to this internal guidance system still, so that you can not be creating damage and things that are going to take you out of your true highest potential with your blueprint. One of the ways that I discovered this is shortly after I found that cassette tape, it was given to me actually, my mom passed. And we had a really rough childhood, but at this time, when she died, thank God, we were close. We had fixed a lot of the issues that we had together, and we were really tight, and it was an unexpected death, and I missed her. I spent 3 or 4 days a week with my mom in the evenings hanging out. That's how close we were. And I remember my boyfriend, we were living together, and he went to work, and I was laying on the floor. I think I was 24 at the time, and I was crying, and it was like a wail of an animal. It was so much guttural pain of missing her. And in the midst of the pain, I would have thoughts about, what she gave me and how much I loved her, and things that she would say to me and how she made me the woman I am today. And then on the flip side, right, I would have, woe's me, who's going to be there when I, have my babies, right? And when I graduate from college, and all these different ideas that feelings. And I would feel this pity, like sucking hollow tightness inside. And I was laying there watching, because I had started my journey of trying to figure this out, this internal guidance system, watching the expansion and contraction happen, noticing which thoughts were going to take me into a place of despair and pain and not create what I want out of this passing of my mother, and noticing the thoughts that were like cathartic and beautiful and a release of experience. And grief is about love. You don't grieve something unless you love it, unless it was important to you, right? And so I would have this deep love feeling. So when Abraham gave them this emotional guidance system, they were not talking about the emotions that are these knee-jerk reactions to stories. Because our emotions, what happens is you'll start running a story in your head, and then there's a habitual response as a way to react, and a lot of our stress defenses, okay, what you have is, the way it works in life is, in between the ages of 0 and 7, you have these programs that happen that are themes, things that are always going to stress you out or make you feel good, things that are always going to create anxiety, frustrate you. It's like the same theme over and over again. Okay. And it's unique to you. That's part of the thing that's so beautiful about following your internal guidance system. It's paying attention to your exact issues and your exact genius as well. I mean, it's not just about, once you start clearing out the closings, okay, and then what happens is you're in alignment with your blueprint, and the genius of who you are begins to show up. The brilliance of what you came here to contribute and why you matter shows up. Anyway, so the stories and the reactions happen, and your emotions are in them, and you want to pay attention to the IGS so you can clear those things out. And what Abraham gave her is, it's the actual emotional guidance system is, there's a scale going up of various types. So I don't know the scale because I didn't study her work. I've looked into it. I understand what it is, but I didn't particularly use it because I don't have to. I have the internal guidance system, so I don't have to do this longer, more difficult guidance process of emotional guidance system. But it would be, okay, you go from bitterness to despair, and then from despair to anger, and from anger to resentment. And I'm just throwing these out there. This is not what it is. Resentment to acceptance to gratitude. And what you're doing is the same thing as when you're trying to find an opening with your internal guidance system. By switching your thinking, you feel the tightness, you're moving through trying to figure out, what is it? What is the thing that's going to open me? And all this practices I teach is how to get open in the moment. You're reaching for a thought of resentment. You're reaching for a thought of, how can I accept this? You're reaching for a thought of gratitude. And in that, you begin to open back up. And then when you find your opening and you're in the opening, now you're back on your blueprint, and your life is going to be cleaned up and worked out. And like I said at the beginning of the show, when you move yourself from the closing into peace, what actually ends up happening in your life is the world around you changes. It shows up differently. You have different opportunities that come to you when you move from a closing to an opening. The other thing that happens, which is wonderful, instead of just going for another better feeling thought, because those better feeling thoughts, let's say you go from acceptance to gratitude, and you're pissed off at your, mother-in-law, and she's been ragging on you all day and been criticizing you at, Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. And you're really hurt, and you're really angry, and you're really upset, and you're really mad that your husband's not defending you and will never defend you against his mother. And you're in your head, and you're sitting out back trying to use the emotional guidance system. I'm not saying the system isn't good. It is good. It's just not as effective. And you go for that gratitude thought. You could be like, gratitude could be, well, at least I have a beautiful meal to eat. Gratitude could be, at least my husband and I do really well and have a great relationship when we're not here. Where with the internal guidance system, you're actually going to work on the stuff with your mother-in-law. What are you thinking? She hates me. She's never liked me. Okay, you're closed. What does that mean? She doesn't hate me. She doesn't not like me. So what is it? And then thoughts, and solve the actual situation that you're upset about. Not just reach for a better feeling thought and get yourself centered, but actually start a new neural pathway where you don't have the rejection theme, stress theme, that rejection stress theme kicking you in the teeth every time she says something. You can actually solve the situation. And even if your mother-in-law didn't like you, if it was true, you would open, and it would not be the same. Your reaction and your capacity to be with the fact that you're just not her favorite person is completely different than making it mean something that it doesn't mean. All right. Now I'm going to continue talking. I hope you don't mind. Love some, comments if you want to about what I'm saying. You don't have anybody that's here for coaching, and that's perfectly fine, because I really, this emotions piece is pretty important. And I wanted to talk about it because it is not about feeling good. So I'm going to talk about that piece. You can feel really good about something. It can make you feel good because there's chemicals like dopamine that are being released when you are doing the thing that you're doing. Let's say you're gambling, or you're drinking alcohol, or you're shopping. And in the moment, it feels good because you're getting that dopamine hit, but it doesn't mean that it's good for you. And it doesn't mean that it's going to open you. It's an avoidance tactic. So you can't just go with, a lot of people do, the emotional guidance system as if it feels good, then it's on your path and it's the right thing to do, because our minds are filled with things that we've picked up along the way to try to make ourselves feel better. It's part of the reason that we have things that are awful, like women who go back to abusive men who physically abuse them, is because they're addicted to that particular type of man and the attention that they give. Very often in these relationships, the ones that I've had the opportunity to work with women who are in that situation, he's a wonderful guy until it happens. And then he really makes up for it. And then he feels really bad. And then she feels like a quitter, or like she's abandoning him and not loyal if she leaves. So she'll stay, and her staying and being loyal feels good to her. But that doesn't mean that that's her guidance system. It's something that she picked up between the ages of 0 and 7 about what it takes to be in a marriage, what takes to be loyal, what loyalty means. Loyalty does not mean self-sacrifice to the point of death. That's not what it means. In fact, sometimes the most loyal thing you can do is to leave someone so they actually get to a place where they can figure it out for themselves, because you have taken away the excuse they have of, well, at least she hasn't left yet, or he hasn't left yet. Okay, so it's not about just feeling good. That's what the internal guidance system is for. You can feel good and have a closing. You can also have something that's really hard and doesn't feel good, and it opens you. You have a goal, let's say, of working out or getting a particular thing done in business. You have a business you want to start, and it feels really hard and like uncomfortable and a stretch. I can tell you right now, this show that we're doing right now is a stretch for me. Putting my coaching out there, it's so easy for me to just stay behind my paywall with everybody who loves me, versus putting it out there like I am right now, where I've got people who could come in and troll. It's a stretch for me. It's uncomfortable, but it opens me. It's not easy. I may make it look easy, but it's not easy to get my courage up, to get my butt in here and do this. But it opens me that it's important that people actually get the opportunity to see the power and the transformation that happens from real people solving problems like the mother-in-law one, right? So it could be something that feels not good, but it opens you still, because your internal guidance system is not your emotions. Now, your internal guidance system can recalibrate your emotions. It's a separate process. That's why I have a whole course for it. And I'm going to share with you a little bit on how to get started with this in case you're interested. But the thing is that when you're in the middle of an emotional state, it's really crucial to find out if you're open or closed. Because when you take the opening and closing, right, and you throw emotions behind it, you become powerful. Thank you, Sky. I appreciate that. You become really powerful. You take an energy like anger and you put it in combination with the closing of your internal guidance system, which can actually, because the more, so this is an interesting thing that you really need to know. system, I like to kind of think of it operating like a valve or a compass. Okay. So I'm going to talk about both of them because they're both unique, but intrinsically interlocked. Let's say you have a compass and you've got north, south, and then east or west, right? So let's say north is as open as you can be. You are in an ecstatic state. You are massively, the world feels like it's breathing you. You're so open and you're so ecstatic and so happy, right? Then as you're going down, it goes all the way down to east or west, could be neutral, where you're just, most of the time, once you've cleared out all your closings and you're just happy, you're just in this lovely state of neutral. You just feel good. You just feel like yourself. You're happy. There's nothing bothering you. You're on track. Everything in your life is working. It's all good. And so unless your thoughts create something that your IGS needs a little correction, where you'll get a little bit of an opening or a little bit of a closing, you're just going to be happy and comfortable and yummy, just in this lovely, yummy neutral. Now, if there is a correction, you could have a little opening and then a little bigger opening, all the way up to the big opening and anywhere in between. It fluctuates, right? The more on track with your blueprint, the higher, the more excited, the more energy flowing through you, right? The more that those thoughts that you're having are actually creating your blueprint in a very powerful. If you've had an idea that you cannot stop thinking about, you're so excited about it, your mind is playing, and you're thinking about how you're going to do it and what an impact it's going to have, and it's super excited, and you start telling people about it, and you're going all over the place with it, and you're just all the time thinking about it. That's an opening. That's a big opening. But it works the other way too. So it goes slight closing, close, more close, more close, more close, all the way down to where south is like panic, terror. You are literally feeling terror. You are literally panicked about the possibility of whatever it is you're thinking coming true. And what I'm here to tell you is the more closed you are, the less true and the less that thing is going to happen. You can count on it not happening. Okay. Now, the interesting piece is that if you continue to have thoughts and you're moving towards something that's going to create disharmony and wreck your life, you will get more and more and more and more closed. Now, why is this important? Because you can take the emotion of anger, and if you're thinking and you're closing, if you're thinking this thought, you can get more and more closed. And the more and more closed you get, the angrier you get if you don't understand your internal guidance system. This is why we see those crazy people out there in the world on social media. They call them Karens. I'm sorry for every Karen in the world that your name was picked, because I know not all Karens are like that, but they call them Karens or Carls. I think Carl was after the Walking Dead kid or something. When they wig out and they're absolutely irrational and irate and insane and controlling, it's because they've combined anger with closing. And they think the more closed they get, the more righteous they are and the more in danger the world is of the person they're screaming and yelling at. And they will become irrational and they will lose their mind because of the closing. You're seeing it everywhere. You can also get to a super ecstatic state too, where you're so airy-fairy that, and on it, I did this once, I did this exercise where I tried to stay open, and as open, I was cultivating the most open thoughts I could possibly cultivate for a period of a week or two. I became so annoying. Nobody likes to be around somebody that happy. I don't know if you've ever been a parent and you're not having the best day and your kids are giggling and laughing in the other room and you just want them to shut up. The laughter is irritating. When you're not in the same vibrational space as somebody, right? And if they're higher than you in the moment, it can be really annoying. Annoying is closing, by the way, but it doesn't matter. I got really annoying. People were really annoyed by me. I found the best place to be is in this lovely neutral experience that we have when we're just in a nice centered place, because then you can move and match the people that are around you wherever they are. So your emotions are not your internal guidance system. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it's right. You got to check your IGS and make sure you're open. Just because it feels uncomfortable doesn't mean emotionally and hard doesn't mean that it's wrong for you. You got to check your IGS. You could be open and you're pushing through the hardness, but it does feel different. And what I mean by that is, if it's hard and you're open, you want to do it. You see the results. That's why you really want, the most important thing you can do is to get to know this internal guidance system, because it is specific to who you are. There is no advice in the world that works for every single person. It drives me crazy. And trust me, I love the personal development books. I have a whole bunch of them. I haven't really read them all, but I buy them. You should look at I don't know about you, but you should look at my Audible. I have all these books someday that I want to listen to as I get the time. I keep buying them, but it does drive me crazy when somebody comes in and says, this is how it's done. If you have an obstacle, you push through it no matter what. Right? You get up at 4:30 in the morning and you work out every single day if you're going to be a successful person. Well, one person found an opening to do that and they were super successful. And then they decided to write a book so that everybody else could follow their lead. Out of the people who read their book, there's a percentage of them who that advice in that situation is perfect. Out of the rest of them, the advice is not good. You should not push through a closing. You should not go ahead and break through every barrier that's in the way. Lots and lots of times that barrier is the universe protecting you from yourself and making it clunky and hard and difficult, right? And so you want to just notice, am I open at pushing hard, at going for it? Or is this obstacle, as I'm thinking about overcoming this obstacle under all costs, am I closed? Because if you're closed, don't push through the obstacle. It will create a wreck. So I hope this helps you for today. I wanted to talk to you about emotions. I wanted to talk to you about the emotional guidance system. I think that it's a good system that Esther Hicks she channeled and came up with when you're really stuck in an emotional place and you can't get out of it, because that emotional place is like a power supercharge. That was the other thing I did want to say. When you're in that place, you're supercharging your life. The emotions is like the supercharge of your actual physical manifestation in the world around you. Things will happen really fast when you're supercharged. Now, back to the compass and the valve. The other way that I like to picture the internal guidance system is if you picture your life force energy. When you are in this expanded state, that big high north state, you have a ton of life force energy flowing through your body to create that thing that you're excited about, to be a part of that thing that you're excited about. When you're in a place of terror because you're thinking something that you do not want to create, that you do not want to bring into your life, it's like the valve shuts down and gets really tight and your life force energy goes to zero. And you'll even find that you don't want to be around people. You don't want to do anything. As we sit on the couch and we're like, same with depression. Depression is when you're off your blueprint, far off your blueprint. You need to get back to your blueprint. But that valve shuts down. And then there's the normal life force energy. That's just the neutral. That's creating your life, that you're not overburning it and you're not underburning it. You're just in the right place. And that's where that southwest neutral valve is. It's the perfect amount for you to have optimal health, to have optimal sleep, to not burn yourself out, to get along with everybody and intimate in your life, and to everything to be stable and centered. Is this making sense out there, everybody? I would like to know. So that's basically how it works. And you were given this. This is the thing that blows my mind the most, is that when I realized that every single human being on the planet was born with this, and we've all had it our entire lives. And when I began to decode that this is a way that it works, and that we have control over our joy and our happiness and our success, and that we have control of not only that, but when you go from a closing to an opening, and that expansion happens, you start a new neural pathway in your brain, and that neural pathway, the more you hold that new thought, begins to take hold. And this happens throughout your day. You could be in the middle of a situation where, take the mother-in-law situation. You can be in the kitchen making dinner with your mother-in-law for Thanksgiving, and she goes, I think that's too much egg. You shouldn't put that in there. And before you take it as a criticism and shut down, and all of a sudden this time you took it as a criticism, you shut down and you go, oh, I'm thinking that here she goes criticizing me again. I can't do anything right. I'm not good enough for her son. And then you notice you're closed. Oh, that's not true. It's not true. That's not what that means when she says that. And you'll start to feel a little opening because it's not true. Wait a minute, maybe she's really trying to help me become a better cook, and you open a little bit more. Maybe she really just feels like she wants to give me everything, teach me how to cook like she does. And you open up. That moment, going from that closing that when you've always reacted to something, moving yourself up into that opening, a new neural pathway starts. Then 5 minutes later, when you're making the pudding, and she makes a comment about adding more chocolate, you have that moment of, there it is. Nope, that's not true. She's just teaching me how to cook because she wants to share that with me. And you open back up. Next Thanksgiving, those thoughts don't arise anymore because those new neural pathways have taken hold over all the phone conversations and all the little moments you've had now, fresh and new, with your mother-in-law. And the old one doesn't exist anymore. And you never react that way. You don't react that way anymore at all. That's what this thing that we were all born with does, is it gets us out of suffering and it stops us from that habitual pain of reacting to our stress themes with those stress defenses the same way over and over and over again. Lisa says, I did this yesterday with a closing with my mom, and she was closed and almost yelling. I love it. I love it. And then Sky is sharing with us in the comments, because I had severe depression, I have trouble trusting myself. I fear that when I'm closed, that I can't identify the right thought. Well, Sky, that's why you are in the Fear Free Mind Experience class. And I'm going to teach you how to actually be able to find the right thought, because it is difficult to find the right thought. Let me tell you, when I first started decoding this back in 1993, it took me 10 years. Even in 2001, I'd gotten it. I really kind of got it down for myself. And then I had to try to figure out how to explain what was happening inside of me to other people. It took a long time. Now I can move somebody through this and they'll be fairly competent and have a pretty deep level of awareness by going through the 14 days twice. So I recommend, Sky, since you just purchased the program, go through the 14 days and then go back and do the 14 days again and do them each day. Don't rush through it, because it's the actual doing the practice, truly actually doing the practice, that changes the mind and connects the IGS and the mind together. Now I can have somebody competent at this if they put the time in, which isn't that much time. It's just really actually practicing thinking differently as you move through your day in a period of 4 to 6 months, where it took me a good 10 years to even get to a place where I could bring somebody in 4 months. And then it took me another 7 years to correct all the thing I had about, because I just sat here and figured it out. Nobody had to do it. So if this, let's see, you got Elise again. Love all of the, what did Elise say? Where you go? Ta-da! I like the comment feature on this software. It's really, but it's slow. I calming listened instead to battle with her. I calmly listened instead, and it turned out we agreed. That is the shift. That's the shift that we can all make. I love that. And Sky just said she is going to repeat it. Good, because that's how you really get it. It's in going over it again, even a third time. Wonderful. So some coaching really quick here in just a minute. Before I do that, I want to let you know, how do you participate and how do you learn about your IGS? You go to fearfreemindexperience.com. And you can join the 14-day program. Actually, I think you should go to fearfreehuman.com, because on fearfreehuman.com, I have about a 40-minute masterclass that you can listen to that explains this in a much more succinct way. And then, pardon me, there's 2 ins. You can do the 14-day quick start, and you get a month of coaching in this format with me, like we're about to do. Hold on here, with Julie. Or you can do the more extensive program, which is the 4-month program I was just talking about, and you get the quick start in there for the same price. And on Fear Free Human, watch the masterclass, and then you can make a choice as to which one you want. The second one, more extensive masterclass, is you'll get 4 months of coaching with. So that's how this works and how you can be here and be working with me in this place. Julie, we are diving in.
Oh,
hi, Julie.
Okay, I just got these headphones on. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks for the coaching the other day. It did help with this situation at work. And I did contact somebody and was able to actually get a different offer than I even anticipated. So interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. And does it feel more open?
It feels more opening. It feels like, I don't know if others will support me, but I'm just going to try it. So it was a different offer in terms of my current job, but in a different classification, which might give me
I had a
more.
feeling, yeah, I had a feeling there was something like that
Yeah, I hope
possible.
so. So it's basically the union which is supporting me because they caught somebody in the reclassification process, taking away parts of my resume. And they're like, wait a second, yeah, this person's a specialist. So it was nice to get that possibility of recognition, and we'll see where
Good.
that goes. Yeah, so I'm
Now, let's go back to the closing thought that you have about or the thought. It seemed closing, but it may not be. We're going to find out of, I don't know if I'm going to get the support I need. Tell me more
right.
about that.
Um, it has to do with um, having tried to work in a system where they really value registration of a particular kind, not just a skill set. And I've dodged around it, I've worked around it, I've adapted to it. And honestly, I'm extremely fatigued. And when I did apply for a half-time position of what I have now, the first question that came out of this administrator's mouth was, "Oh, but you're not registered." And I just thought, "Oh, here we go again. Can't you just like,
But did it open you that it's an issue? Hold on.
did it
Or
open me
does
that it's
that
an
close
issue?"
you when she said,
Less
yeah,
so.
when you think this is going to be an issue?
I'm less. I'm thinking, take that application away and just focus on my current job and getting it reclassified into something that I feel is a
But I want you to
specialist.
check your IGS. This is important because this has been a thing for you for
Yeah,
years,
I
this
know.
registration thing, okay?
Yeah,
And it's painful for you and
yeah.
it creates suffering and frustration because you're so brilliant and you're so good at what you do. And yet this silly little piece of paper is so
And
frustrating for
I
you.
did write the college and they've dismantled and they didn't get back to me. So, um,
So let's go back, and I just want you to be in the moment with your IGS because your mind immediately went to, oh, I've got a solution for it already. But I want to see what your IGS has to say about it so that we can get you to a place of peace because
mhm.
it does bother you when it comes up.
Yeah, it
So
does.
when you hold the thought, this registration piece is going to be a problem. Just hold that thought. This registration piece is going to be a problem again. Open, closed, or neutral.
Neutral.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to be able to find the position I'd be happy in without it. Open, closed, or neutral.
Closed.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. That means it's not true. You're not going to have any problems finding the position where you're going to be happy. You're going to get to slow down and go to part retirement kind of energy, and you're going to be happier again with the role that you're in.
Yeah, I wonder if I jumped on that because of emotions. Um,
Tell me more.
well, the minute you said it, I kind of like had to process it, and then I started to feel a little bit angst.
Okay, so what was the thought when you processed it? How did you process it? Where'd you go with it?
Okay, so the statement was, it's going to be a challenge getting reclassified into being recognized as a specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Open, closed, or neutral? I want you to pay attention to what you're thinking. That's what's important right now.
yeah, what I'm thinking
Tell me
is,
exactly what you're thinking.
am
Yeah.
I up for it?
Okay. Open, closed, or neutral?
Neutral.
Okay. So I wouldn't say, am I up for it? And we're not asking questions here. We're
No,
just
I know,
seeking,
but that's
right? We're
what
just
went through
seeking
my
different things.
mind.
I'm talking about everybody who's listening, not you. I know you know. So because everybody goes, well, you're asking questions, but we're not. We're moving through scenarios. It's not the same thing as should I do this or should I do that? You're not looking for a yes or a no. We're
Right.
looking for alignment. And so here's the thing that what I caught with that is that really wasn't about having it being a problem, getting reclassification. What we were thinking was this was the opening. It's not going to be an issue to find a new position, a new way of doing my position where I'm happy and can be partly retired. It's not going to be an issue. Now, we don't know how that's going to be. The reclassification is a breadcrumb.
I'd say that's open.
And
I
then,
can feel it in here.
yes, that's good, because that's the thing is you want to hang on to, I am going to find a position that's perfect and have this part-time retirement and still be serving with my specialty. The problem that I was seeing is going to that 2-day position, but not actually doing the thing you're super brilliant at.
Right.
Anymore.
And that's a very good point.
That was where I was like, I was sitting there going, oh, no, we can't lose her. She's so good at what she does. And there's people who need you, and we want you to rest, and we want you to have your time. But also, man, there isn't a lot of you around, hon.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I got the call and the guy said,
oh, go ahead.
I think they've made a mistake when they were reclassifying all the positions, and they took yours and they wiped out like 3 responsibilities and duties. And I want to know, like, are you still doing those? Because you should be reclassified. And I thought, oh, this is different. This is not what I thought. Because I keep feeling like that it's gonna be a fight. They're gonna, slam the door in my face. It's gonna,
Does that open you?
What? No, that's in the past.
That it's gonna.
I'm saying that's kind like I'm in a new place now.
Good.
But my tendency was to think that in the past.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Good. So when you did your homework, did you do the homework that I gave you?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I wrote down all the things. Yep.
Yep. And so this is the thing I want to point out. When you write down all the things, right, and then you start looking at how you want it to be, okay, you don't have to figure out, and this is really important, everyone, your mind doesn't know the solution. And if it goes and it starts running in different directions to solve a pain point that you're in, the key is to stop, notice the closing, write down everything that's closing, and then configure it into, well, how would I want it to be if I could have anything? When you do that, you don't even have to have a plan. You do not have to have the position. Okay, this is what's important. When you just put it out there of how you want it to be, then new solutions can come to you that you can have choice about. This is a solution you would have never thought about, right, Julie?
No, absolutely not. It was sort of beyond my, awareness with what was happening
Purview.
with, at admin level, HR level, and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So don't try to come up with the answer, because your mind is not in a place to be able to come up with an answer, everyone. Simply get to a place about what you want, and you're open, so that, because it's in that opening that it jiggles the world around you so that stuff starts shaking out and coming to you. That's how it works. And Julie, you did it beautiful.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I was amazed. Was really, really just like the best phone call I had all week. So
good.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by when you change your inner world and you move into that opening, the world around you changes.
Yeah. So now I have to
versus
think
you
about
running off. Wait, let me hold on one second. I just for the people at home, the other option, because this was a call she did a couple days ago, was I was applying for this other job that was only 2 days a week. They were going to give it to another woman. They wanted me to talk to this other woman. You're going to get into this whole big mess with that whole situation. And it wasn't even yours.
No,
it wasn't the place where you needed to be.
No.
So
I was
that's the
just
point.
offended. And I thought, how disrespectful and insensitive this person is. It just told me more about her. But I did email the young woman back, and I just said, I'm winding down, and you can, I unfortunately don't have time to meet, but you can reach out to so-and-so, the manager who's hiring.
Perfect.
And yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Good.
I feel more
excellent.
grounded.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And now I'm trying to figure out the timing, the divine timing of kind of who to talk to when, and this kind of thing. So
you just be in flow.
Yeah.
Well, this is the holidays. It's the worst time to create anything. So just be in flow. Remember, dropping into your listening and going through your day from moment to moment. So that way you have all the time you need for your holidays and everything. And it may not probably will not come up until a little bit after the 1st.
Yeah.
You can check your opening on that, but this is not a good time to bringing in new things, because everybody's, like you said, winding down.
Yeah.
Right. And moving into the holidays.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to get something going.
Right.
So unless it opens you, unless there's a flow that opens you to
Right.
pick up the phone all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and then it'll be the perfect time.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it.
Yeah, no, people are starting to be away and so on already, so it's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Thank
it's
you,
great. Well,
Zen, I so
congratulations.
appreciate
I
it.
love it. I can't wait to hear more.
Okay.
Thanks for popping on,
Yeah.
and I love it when we have the completion of the coaching story. So
Yeah.
thanks for popping back on and keeping us informed.
Thank you so much, Zen, I appreciate it.
You're
Okay.
welcome. Happy holidays if I
Yeah,
don't
you
talk to you
too.
again.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Right on. You're welcome. All right. Well, if everybody wants to say goodbye in the chat, I think we're good. We don't have anybody else. I finished with my thing that I wanted to share with you about emotions, the emotional guidance system, and your opening and closing in the middle of emotional state. And that's not it. And then let me double check here my calendar. We have another call. Dun, 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 tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're skipping Saturday. I like to hold my Sabbath. I am personally, I like my divine space on the Sabbath, which is Saturday. I believe that's God's day of rest. And then I'll be back on Sunday at 2 o'clock again. Or was it 11? Let me double check. I'll be back on Sunday this week at 11. So we've got a 2 o'clock and then 11. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now. Thanks for being here. Spread the word and subscribe to the channel.